Hi everyone, welcome to the first video of All About Flowers, and it starts with a table full of products. We need all these things to make the kind of flowers that are there in the next videos. So just listen carefully and understand the use of each of these and why I use them. Alright, so let's start. The first thing that I use is a hygrometer. It shows what is the percentage of humidity in my room. So it is 33% right now. For making clean flowers, lines and effects, even for ripples, we need the humidity to be under 40%, and that works the best. So I work in an AC air conditioned room so that the humidity can be controlled in the room and I can manage neat and clean flowers while working. So this is a very important tool because if things are not working out, you might want to check the humidity in your room. The next thing that is extremely important is 99% isopropyl alcohol. So this is 99% alcohol that I have taken out in small bottle like this. You can either use a bottle like this, or if you find it more convenient to take out only a little bit of alcohol at a time, then this kind of bottle, a needle tip applicator bottle, also works. So find any of these kind of bottles. They will be easier to use when making flowers rather than using a dropper or a pipette kind of a thing. So these are the bottles that I use, and they have 99% isopropyl alcohol. That is very important. If alcohol is not pure, you will not get clean lines and in your flowers, and the roses will not work out so well. You cannot use blending solution for these techniques. You need alcohol. So this is what I use. The next important part is about the surfaces that can be used for working, for making flowers. Of course, most useful and the most widely used is Nara papers. Any kind of synthetic paper will work for most of these techniques. So just try that. Nara papers, in India we have synthetic paper by Beyond Inks as well as synthetic paper by DIY for you. So you can use any of these three. They are quite similar in nature, just a little bit of difference in thickness and texture, but mostly all three kind of papers are almost the same. Nara paper, Beyond Ink synthetic paper, and DIY for you synthetic art paper. So use any of these. Then there is Yupo paper. You can use Yupo paper by Beyond Inks or Brustro. Brustro alcohol ink paper is also Yupo paper, or in any other brand that you have in your country. So this is also possible. And for black, you can use Nara black. These are some of the surfaces, and of course I also sometimes use a ceramic tile for practicing. The next important thing is about the inks. Some of the most popular brands that we use, all of us use and have, are either of these, either Beyond Inks, Nara Inks, Ranger Inks, Pinata, Copic Inks, or these days we also have Kamenskaya inks. So we can use any of these. Sometimes some brand of inks don't work as well as the other, so it's just that if you have any of these already, just try once. If they're not working out, then maybe try some other color of the same brand or some other brand. Sometimes it's just the color, sometimes you just want to change the brand and see if there's any difference in the result. Usually the pinks and reds of these brands work well for roses and flowers because I've used almost all of them and they work really well. About Beyond Inks, there is this new set of Beyond Inks that has very beautiful colors. So if you're in India, then this set, which has orchid mint, flamingo azure olive, or plum moss, wine and grey. So this set is really good for flowers. You might want to try this. I really like all the colors in this, and they give nice lines and roses and everything. Now let's talk a little bit about metallic inks and mixatives. The ones that are easily available in India are Beyond Inks Rich Gold and Pinata Brass. So if you don't have anything else, you can buy Beyond Inks Rich Gold. If you can find, this is a very good alternative. I always use this and still use it all the time. This is an extremely good Pinata Brass metallic mixative. Just get this one. If you're in Europe, you might want to get Octopus Fluids Gold Rush and Coin Copper. Both of them are extremely good at giving lines, and they work very beautifully for flowers. For white inks, you can use Nara Inks, Beyond Inks White Ink, as well as Ranger Snow Cap or Octopus Fluid Snow Cap, or just test whatever white ink you have. The only one that doesn't work is Pinata Blanco. That doesn't work at all when mixed with alcohol, so I don't use that. Whenever you're using any of these mixatives, you can mix them with alcohol and keep them in bottles like these. There is no fixed ratio of how much you should mix. You can just, in a bottle which is of 30 ml alcohol, I put around, 10 to 20 drops of the mixative. Now once you do that, you can test it out on a small piece of paper and figure out if the consistency, thickness is there or not. If not, you can add more, or add some more alcohol. So just like that, experiment and figure out what kind of effect you want and how much metallic you need for that. So this is gold, this is copper, and this is white. I keep them mixed in these small bottles and use them quickly whenever I want to make flowers with them. For flowers, it's important to use them diluted. They are so easy to work with once diluted. If you try to put directly from the bottle, you will have to scrub them, move them with a brush, and it becomes slightly difficult to do that. So I would recommend mixing your metallics and mixatives before you start working in small bottles like these. Now I also use paper towel like this, 3M microfiber cloth. This is to clean the paper and get rid of fibers on the paper, because these are all synthetic papers. They attract the dust from the environment and you have to wipe before you start working. So this kind of a cloth works really well to get rid of those dust particles. And I also use Q-tips or earbuds like these to clean up some of the edges of the flower or give it more definition, so something like this. So let me talk about the kind of pens and tools that I have over here that I use regularly. This is a plastic palette that I use to take out colors and fill in some of the areas wherever needed, or to make some golden dots, or make stem of the flowers and petals and leaves or something. So this is just a simple plastic palette used for any art. You can use the same. Then here are some of the things that I use very regularly, very important to know a little bit about them, is a silicone tip brush. So this is a silicone tip tool. It is a nail art tool. It has a soft tip and it does not absorb the inks or pigments from your work. So if you're making a petal and you want to give it a slight shape, you can use this kind of a tool to do that, because when you use a normal synthetic hair brush, your brush will absorb the pigments and the ink. If it is a metallic ink, it will absorb the gold pigment particles. So it's better to use a silicone tip tool like this so that you don't have to worry about it absorbing all the color, and very easy to clean. I also use a synthetic hair paintbrush, a simple one, a very thin one like this, just to draw the stems, or sometimes scrub on some gold that has settled, or so any simple thin brush would do. Then I have a few alcohol based markers. You don't need a lot, just get a few. Get one which is of very light color. So this is almost cream, very light color, almost invisible to the eye. And I use this to define where I want my stems to be. And it is wipeable, so I don't have to worry. So once I draw something and I don't like the stem, I can wipe it with alcohol, because this is an alcohol based marker. There are many brands. This is some no non-branded version, and this one is from Stedler. I use the brown one a lot to draw the stems and define the stems if needed. Then I have this gold and silver pens that I really like. This is Zig Painty metallic gold pen, and this one is Moloto liquid chrome. I use them to make any lines or make some center of the flowers or something like that. So these pens. I also use one white pen, which is this one, Moloto acrylic pen. You can also use Posca pens to make white dots in the center of your flowers if you need to. And then this very useful tool, it is a brush pen, usually used for watercolor art. So instead of water, I have filled isopropyl alcohol in this, and I use this to lift some of the areas. So you will see one of the techniques in which I make roses with this. So this can be used for that kind of art. This is a little bit about the pens and the tools, and of course a lens blower tool to quickly move the inks around and make a background, or a very useful tool. Then for any taping requirement in which I want the paper to be flattened or to give neat and clean edges, I use Scotch tape by 3M. So this is my most valuable tape. I use it all the time to give clean edges. Just remember that when you remove the tape, uh, heat the tape a little bit first before removing, because the tape will get stuck to the paper otherwise, and it might damage the paper when you pull it out. So before removing, use your dryer to heat up the tape a little bit and then remove. So now I have two more things to tell you about. The kind of dryer needed to work with to make flowers. These are the two that I find very good for making all kinds of flowers. In fact, everything related to alcohol inks, I use these two for all my work. This is the Panasonic one, and it is a 500 to 600 watt tool. I use this for all the techniques, as you will see in my work. Remember to get one which has a smaller top. So if you are going to buy a new one, look for a hot air hairbrush, remove the top part and check that there is no rod running inside. It has to be like a drying tool. And then the top part, the smaller it is, the better. And the wattage should be close to 500-600 watts, not more than that, because then it becomes very hot and your flowers tend to dry way before you complete them. So this is a good tool, and these days in Europe and US, people are also using this one by Babyliss. This is also a hot air hairbrush which has a roller kind of attachment which I've taken out, and this is a 300 watt tool. So also it has very low pressure of air coming out, so it's very easy to control this tool. But this won't be easily available everywhere, so get any hot air airbrush that has 500 to 600 watt. Then lastly, This very last tool that I want to tell you about is a table leveler. This is a very beautiful tool to know whether your table is leveled or not. I have done the leveling of my table to make sure that when I pour the ink and leave the paper, it should not run around everywhere, it should remain flat. So you don't need this tool per se, but you can check if you are putting a drop of ink and it's running everywhere. Then check the level of your table and try to level it by putting some cardboard or paper underneath some of the legs to make it leveled. So I think that was all about the products that I use and will be using in the upcoming videos. If you have any questions about any of the products, do check my Amazon link as well, because most of the products you will find there. And um, I hope you have a great time watching all the videos and practicing flowers along with me. See you in the next video. Bye bye.